Apologies for being a few minutes late here. Welcome to the August 14th Township of Long Hill Committee meeting. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Megan, please take roll. Or actually read the presiding officer.
Well, do you want to? Okay. Compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting. Specifically, the time, date, and public call-in information were included in the meeting that was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel Morris Daily Record and posted on the Township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. A public comment period will be held in the order as listed on the meeting agenda. Committeeman Dorsey? Here. Committeeman Verleza?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Present.
Mayor Paserchia?
Present. Out of the gate, what we're going to do, we have asked Bob Flynn, Regional External
Mayor
Affairs
Paserchia,
from JC.
If I could just interrupt for, do you want to make a comment about Committeeman Ray?
You want to do the right out of the gate?
Well, no, just because we're taking roll and he is not here, so I just,
Okay. So Committeeman Ray, for personal reasons, decided to step down, and he wasn't able to be here this evening. So we will do the right thing at the next meeting and have a proclamation, etc. Brendan and I ran together back in 2012, but his dedication to this town goes far beyond just the Township Committee. He's been a volunteer for the Millington Fire Department for many years, and he's held many positions there. He's been on the planning board for a long, long time. He's been on various other committees, and I'm forgetting one. But in either case, Brendan has dedicated a lot of time and a lot of years to this community, and I, for one, am very appreciative of it. He's been my running mate for the last 3 or 4 times, so Brendan, if you're listening, thank you for your service. And thank you, Megan. Okay, so Bob Flynn from JCP&L, they've been working for quite some time on some improvements. This particular one is over in the Gillette Circuit project, but that, of course, would include Myersville. So hopefully Bob is in fact here. I don't see him. Nobody's standing up.
Bob, if you wanted to unmute yourself.
There you go. I'm sorry.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. For those that don't know me, my name is Bob Flynn. I've been with Jersey Central now for a little over 5 years and in the External Affairs Department. I've known Guy for quite some time from my previous employment as well. Primarily, I cover Morris and Passaic County, but since Yolanda's departure, I've actually taken over her whole district. So I am the rep right now for any emergencies, any outage information, or on a day like today, we get to talk about good news. So we have myself here from External Affairs with JCP&L, and then I also have Jeff Panzarella, who is our project manager, and I believe I may have Evan here as well. Evan is our our supervisor of transmission project management with First Energy, Jersey Central Power and Light. So we've discussed this a little bit with the mayor, but we wanted to come into a committee meeting to give this pretty significant update. Anytime, like I said, we have a project where we're investing heavily into our circuits or our communities, we always like to tout those and bring those to the customer's attention that, we are aware of our circuits that need improvement. I live in Chester Township. I'm actually a beneficiary of one of those high priority circuits that's getting a lot of tree trimming done here in Chester. So this is a project that's very exciting for us that we get to discuss with you. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you unless you'd like Evan to lead off, but I will let you describe the project and then we will hang on. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer those as well.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Thank you, Bob. I'm not sure if Evan's on. I can't actually see the attendees, but I'll run with it, and he can definitely jump in as needed. So yeah, like Bob was saying, this is the NJRIP project, the New Jersey Reliability Improvement Program. And these are some of our high priority circuits. About 18 of the lowest performing circuits that we've identified. And these two being right here in Gillette, Long Hill, circuit dash 42 and 40 and 42. And basically what we're doing here, I heard someone mention Myersville earlier. That's the bulk of our work, the most consecutive part of the project. You'll see, I'm not sure if you can see the map online there, but it spans about 10 miles. And there's a lot of one-off sections, pole replacement, some equipment up top of those poles. But the most consecutive work, like I mentioned just now, is Myersville Road from the intersection of about Casa Maya. There's a restaurant that runs northeast towards Chatham to Treetop Lane. So in that section there, we'll be replacing every pole so probably upwards of 80 poles. We're increasing from single phase to three phase. So basically that means we'll have an increase in energy, more constant, steady power running, and some equipment up top as well. We have some reclosures with help with, if there's a trouble on the line, it can, it'll test and make sure that, it'll shut it off and keep trying to turn it back on unless it's actual trouble. And it's just to help us basically, monitor those things that are happening and track things a little bit better. We will be, currently right now, we're scheduled to start construction on August 26th, which is a Monday. It's coming up very quickly. And hopefully construction will conclude by November 8th, which is a Friday. So we're in that process now of going through our contractors and hopefully we're mobilizing to start construction very, very shortly.
Thank you.
Jeff, can you just touch on, this is and again, I may be incorrect with the number, but this is a 1.2, is that correct? $1 million
price tag?
Yeah.
We have a budget of about 1.5 million on that. That's correct. So it's definitely obviously important for FirstEnergy and more of we mentioned reliability issue and something that we take seriously, obviously.
We have 18 of these, as Jeff had mentioned. These are circuits where we are experiencing the most frequent interruption for customers. So as I said, I work for the company almost 6 years. I don't get any special treatment. I don't get to call a crew to come help me in Chester when we lose power. It's just unfortunate, but it's where I live. And so the target of these 18 are historically where we've seen the most interruption from, whether it's tree contact, animal contact, power pole accidents, things like that. We analyze that data daily and compile it into a list of these circuits that we call usually worst performing circuits. So they are the ones with the most issues. And these two for Long Hill are the ones that will, greatly impact the residents in that area in terms of reliability. We'll see a pretty good uptick. Obviously, barring any major storms, like you get a hurricane or things like that, or bow echo or straight line winds, not much new equipment can help with 70-mile-an-hour winds. But these devices are new technology, stronger poles, some automation as well. And it's something that we are very excited about. So we're happy to be here and discuss a good project where we're investing in one of our municipalities and two of our circuits in Long Hill. In Chatham Township, there is a small portion in Chatham Township as well that will receive some of that benefit.
So thank you very much for being here tonight. Anecdotally, I can confirm that there have been some issues over the last several years in the Myersville section in Gillette. One, I live in Myersville, and two, I must commend JCP&L. The outage map that is on your website has become very helpful over the last 10 years, certainly since Sandy, and I know you guys put a lot of work into that. So we know where our outages are, and they tend to be in that area. Can you comment on, because we know Long Hill Township is a very heavily treed area, and I know the project does include some tree work, and I believe you've met with our administrator, Randy Barr, talking about that. Can you comment on what might be happening or will happen regarding vegetation management?
Yeah, and Jeff, just chime in because I'm
Sure.
recounting from our conversation. So if I misquote you, just chime in. But yeah, so we are very aware here in New Jersey, tree trimming, and as you're all familiar with, we have cycle trimming for our circuits where we go usually 4 years. We'll go and re-trim the regrowth that we see over the 4 years. There are some tree removals with this, however. Again, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we had initially estimated about 144 trees, right? That would need to be either removed or trimmed. That's now down to under 10, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's correct. Initially, our forestry team was out there, and they had estimated and tagged, not physically, but we have a list of locations of about 144 trees. So what we did was we redesigned Myersville, just the configuration up top of the pole from our single to three phase. So we were able to get that number of 144 down to lower than 10. I think we're at about 8. So right now our forestry team is out there getting signatures and working with some of the residents to have those removals proceed as construction starts, and everything. So, and essentially what that means too is instead of those that really high number of removals, we're just going to be able to trim as needed, just to make sure we have a clear shot as we put the new circuit up in the air. So
Thank you. All right, so actually, can I turn it over to the Township Committee for questions or comments?
Yeah, hi.
Your
Can
mic.
you, am I plugged in? Hello?
Try Randy's.
Oh,
Matt, sorry.
All right, sorry about that. So you said you're investing like 1.5 million, right? What percentage of that is tree removal versus increasing resiliency? I assume what you're doing is not only trying to prevent outages, but being able to switch over quickly and isolate when you do. Part of the things residents complain about is it takes so long for the power to come back up. Is that some of the improvements that you're making, and how much of the investment is being poured into that?
I have Randy.
Jeff.
I was going to say Evan Hill's on the line. He just PM'd me here. He said he would take that question. Evan's he's the supervisor of the PMs here in Jersey. I'm not sure if we can make him a panelist so he can talk.
I'm on it. For some reason,
there you go.
for some reason I'm listed as MP, but I'm not quite certain why. So to answer your question, I guess most directly, that 1.5 million number is the actual construction cost of the infrastructure and improvements. That does not include tree trimming and vegetation, nor does that include the capital cost for all of the equipment that we're installing and the materials, and nor does that include the engineering cost planning that went into the project. So overall, the project closer to probably about the $2.5 to $3 million mark when you add everything up. The 1.5 is purely just construction cost.
Got it. Okay. And so, it's hard to prevent a squirrel from knocking out a transformer or something like that, but it sounds like what you're doing here is creating resiliency in the infrastructure so that the power is shifted around the faulty component or pole or whatever. Is that the right understanding?
So, what we've done is we're actually splitting these circuits. We're splitting all the about approximately 1,500 customers on this line into two different circuits, and all those circuits are backfed. So there's redundancy and resiliency there. The type of equipment we're installing, we'll call them smart equipment. We're replacing fuses, just like a fuse in your home, that when a fault occurs, the fuse opens. We're replacing those dumb type fuses or dumb devices with smart devices like trip savers and automatic reclosers, some of which are SCADA enabled, so our district communication center can can communicate and see in real time what's going on. But these smarter devices, if a squirrel were to nibble on the line, would open and then after about 5 seconds automatically close to try to clear that fault. And it would do that up to 3 times. If it is truly a fault, such as a tree falls on a line or vehicle accident, then that recloser does its job and stays open to protect life. Okay, you're getting quite a few smart devices and upgrades to what's currently out there, and those devices can be managed remotely by our district communications center.
Got it. All right. So the system can heal itself to a certain degree, and in the event that it can't, then you can pinpoint where the problem is and troubleshoot it a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thank you.
Jeff, what's up? I have a question real quick. This might be for Bob, too. Back in 2019, we provided a list of telephone poles that need to be for the lights, put LED lights on, and your predecessor pretty much dropped the ball on it. We provided the list, and nothing's been done since 2019, basically for Valley Road. So 2 questions. One, can we get that project started again? Because I know the town hall employees as well as the DPW employees took a lot of time putting that together. And second, Jeff, when you said you're taking down and replacing the poles, if there's any traffic light, street lights on those poles, are they going to be replaced with better or more efficient LED lights? And last, say hi to Nick and Lauren for me.
I apologize. It cut out a little bit.
Oh, the question, Jeff, I had was when you said you were going to replace a bunch of telephone poles, correct?
Yeah, we're placing a bunch of distribution poles,
So
correct?
when you
Utility
do
poles.
replace those poles, if they have street lights on them, are you going to replace them with more efficient and brighter LED bulbs or lights?
As far as
I can take that.
go ahead, Evan.
Yep. So this program is not an energy efficiency program for lighting. That's separate from what we are managing and installing. In most cases, if those street lights are operational and still have service life in them, we're going to transfer those directly over to the new poles. The lighting upgrades and energy efficiency program for lighting is separate from this program. Neither of us are really familiar with it. But if you need a new contact of who that would be, we can try to track that down for you. And provide the township with that.
Evan, I'll handle that portion because that's a municipality's request. The energy efficiency portion is for our contractors TRC and Wildan, and that is more internal LED lighting. The street lighting is still through like local line shops such as my Summit or Booton where I operate. So to answer the first question, yes, we can definitely take that back on. That sounds like it was a lot of work to get that information. If you or whoever can send me the email with if there's a work order number associated with it. If you don't have that, it's okay. If you can just get me the list of lights or the locations that you want to upgrade, we'll go through all that data and we can get an order started for that. That's no problem. And likewise for, if these sections are areas where you do want LED lights, we can add that onto the list if that is a request. So
You answered my next question. We'd be able to get a list of those poles with lights on them eventually so we can decide whether or not we want to put the better, more efficient lights on them.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you, Jeff.
no problem. Yeah.
Nick,
No, good.
we're good?
Yeah.
I want to thank you for hanging out so late. This is great news for Long Hill, but especially for the folks over in Myersville and Gillette, because I've come to know many even better than I already knew them, and I've come to know others who I didn't know previously, because they certainly voiced their opinions to me. So I do appreciate it, and this is great. And by the way, we didn't talk about timeline.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us and allowing us the opportunity.
Bob, can you talk to timeline? I know it's on the report, but better coming from you. When is it beginning, and when do you anticipate the project being completed?
Timeline? I'm sorry, you're cutting out a little bit.
Timeline. When is the project beginning, and when do you anticipate? I know projects like this could extend.
Sure. Right now, we're anticipating an August 26th beginning of construction. That's maybe that's a Monday coming up, a couple weeks from now. Anticipating to be complete on Friday, November 8th. Right now.
That would be great. So again, thank you. And on behalf of the Township Committee and the residents of Long Hill, we appreciate the work you guys and gals are doing.
Hey, any updates, any upgrades planned for Sterling anytime soon? I'm looking at all my paisans from Sterling out here. I mean, I just felt obligated to ask.
To be fair, I think, Bob, your response, and maybe you should respond to that, you went down, JCP&L went down X number of the worst performing circuits, and Gillette and Myersville popped up, I believe.
Yeah, I missed the first part of the question, but yeah, that's correct. Is we compile it annually, the worst performing circuits, and we will proactively go out. You know, this is a different style of a project, but we will proactively go out and, you know, review equipment. I recently had one for Montville, is, you know, one of my towns, and we did have a section of towns where it's very big tree canopy over this neighborhood around a lake where they had a record number of animal contacts. So that's one where that, you know, was never on that list, entered it the next year because of all the tree and squirrel related outages, that we created a blanket order to put animal guards and, you know, install some new equipment on that circuit. That was just something different. So it's something we continually do, that we monitor the data of where are we seeing the most frequent interruptions and can we prevent them with tree trimming, with new equipment, with animal guards, et cetera. So yeah, that is something that we do, and the circuits move up and down off that list based upon their interruptions.
All right, thank you.
And if you could, I know you're
My
going to
pleasure.
hop, please give President Jim Fakeholt my best. I know he retired last week, I believe it was. Jim came in post-Sandy, and we've worked very closely with him and his team throughout the years, so please give him my best.
Will do. Thank you all again for having me.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you,
You
folks.
too.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Is the president of the Chamber of Commerce here, Gary Giannakis?
Yeah, he's here.
There he is. So Gary's the president of the Long Hill Township Chamber of Commerce. He has graciously agreed to come in and speak on the happenings in town.
Thanks for having me here. I don't have anything necessarily prepared. This was kind of a impromptu put together, and it was all Matt's idea. No, it wasn't Matt's idea. I think, Guy, you expressed some interest in kind of, you know, you were enthused, I guess, about some of the newer businesses that were coming to town, some of which you might be aware of because they have grand openings that we help them organize and get the newspaper in front of and stuff. But there's plenty of businesses coming to town that don't join the chamber, so I don't necessarily know about them. So, you know, I don't know exactly what you want to have happen tonight, so I'm just wondering, you want me to list the names of the businesses that we've done grand openings for, or you want me to tell you about the businesses
That
that
works,
have
and
moved to
then
town
there are others,
that
right?
haven't joined?
Right at Myersville Circle, we know there's the Black Bull Steakhouse. Is Black Bull? Is that right?
And Gary, maybe what you could do also is explain how you're organized, how you meet, how you communicate with the members. And you mentioned a bunch of businesses that aren't in the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe you could talk about what they're missing, what value they're missing by not belonging to the chamber.
Right. So, I mean, there's companies in town like Starbucks, right? They contribute to things in the town. They're like part of the community. They're bringing coffee to National Night Out, or lemonade they brought to National Night Out. They come to the tree lighting that we have down in Myersville that the Chamber of Commerce always puts out some pretzels, and you guys come out and help heat them up, and that's great. And it's a great kind of community event. And they bring coffee to that, but they're not becoming a chamber member. I think they would get more out of, you know, being a chamber member, and the way we communicate is through email or through a text exchange. We have our recording secretary here, Victoria, who would be somebody we'd probably want to add to the list when you send me, you know, some new businesses that want to register. And knowing about those new businesses coming in, I really appreciate that. When they come to town, their process is that they have to register with the town. Is that correct?
They have to do, yes. So like restaurants have to get like Board of Health approvals. They have to get sign-offs from zoning. So yes, all new businesses that come into town have to go through planning and zoning and fire, and if it's
Yeah, but we don't have a mercantile license
Correct.
per se, like some
Correct.
towns.
Right. Is there a standard fee that each business has to pay?
not standard. No,
There's not standard.
no.
It varies based on how large they are and,
Which
the requirements-
departments they have to go through and everything like that.
okay. Because I'm just trying to think of ways that we can add some value to those businesses that are coming, saying, we're the chamber, we can help you with this, we can help you with that.
You just triggered something in my mind. Jack, is it appropriate? Can we, when a new business comes in and registers per se, can we give them the contact information, et cetera, for the local chamber?
Sure.
So I've been doing that. Anybody that's come in to do like a Board of Health application, the new Turkish restaurant, there's a bakery. I said, do you want me to have the president of the Chamber of Commerce reach out to you about a ribbon cutting, joining the Chamber of Commerce, everything like that? And they've given permission to give out their information, so.
Right. Taco Bell hasn't reached out to me yet, though. I don't, so
haven't
again,
seen an
it's these
application.
bigger companies that kind of don't, even though they're part of the community, I don't know how to get them into the chamber. So this is more of a dialogue with you
So
guys.
what
than
can we
50%.
do to help the chamber?
You guys can mandate that they have to join the chamber. No,
Jack, is that legal?
no. So, I guess making them aware, and Megan's doing a great job, and she's the first line of defense or offense, however you want to look at it, that, the chamber exists, and we exist not for just the small companies that are, salons or bakeries or breweries, which can get bigger and bigger, but those national brands. But I think they just have some sort of like thing that they don't know that they had to join each municipality's chamber of commerce. They're the big guns. I don't know what the answer is. So that's why this is kind of more of a conversation, a give and take. No, we can't mandate them to join, but I appreciate all the efforts that Megan does to kind of, prod them to, would you like to have this? Maybe Taco Bell doesn't need a ribbon cutting and having you guys come in there and eat some free tacos. I don't know.
Valley, can people that have at-home businesses or have businesses outside of town that do business in town or people in town, can they join the chamber?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have several there. So that's one of the things when I was thinking about, the company is that you guys have come to, there's been a couple of hair salons. We have XO, we have Bart's. We recently had the opening at the
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, the new place, which I just went to for lunch today. And that's great, but yeah, there's a bookkeeper that moved in or joined the chamber recently. There's an accountant that joined. There's all these people that are home-based businesses. They're chamber members. They get value. They can come to the events that we have where we have some face time with the public, and they should be encouraged to. And that's we communicate them through our text blast or email blast, and we have the list of it. But I don't have a list of all the email addresses of all the businesses to invite them all because they're not necessarily all members, but they're part of the community. So it'd be great if all the businesses would be part of the Chamber of Commerce, but some of them don't necessarily see the value. And that's why I was getting towards, is there some sort of standard fee? Because to roll, pick it up with the board, but if there's some way to roll in one of their expenses into a membership, that's something we can discuss on
Gary,
our side.
we've spoken about this in the past. The membership in the chamber is
It's $100.
It's $100
Yeah.
a year, so it's very cheap. You have many networking events throughout the course of the year. It's a good way, as you said, maybe a national chain like Taco Bell, but it's still important for them to meet the other businesses in town and stuff like that. So, and no, I don't know when Taco Bell's opening. I follow Facebook. I don't necessarily engage, but
Rumors are bound that the JCP&L has to get them online. I don't
you know what? We just had them.
We should ask them if they're hungry.
I'll text Bob.
They were waiting for JCP&L.
That's
Oh,
the official
so
word from
there we have it
construction.
confirmed. Jeff, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's nothing to do with the construction office.
Well, there was an issue with the pole that's supplying the power who's belonged to the phone company. And
Oh, yeah, I know that drill.
You know bureaucracy, so. that-
Yes. It's
Right.
great.
And when I see the lights on over there, I'll go over and ask them to join. But as I've done with like I said, the
And Matt's
Starbucks
question was an
owners.
excellent one, by the way, because there's a gentleman in town who approached me and said, I don't have a physical store, but he has a business, and I said, I'll connect you with the president. So
Okay,
later tonight, you know, midnight, you'll be getting a text from me.
okay, great.
So Gary, if you were to talk to all the business owners that are either planning on joining or aren't, and maybe you want to convince them to join, would you tell them that you have a website? Would you tell them that, you know, this is publicity opportunities at regular events in town? How would you convince those businesses to join?
That's a great question. We have a website that's getting developed now, and all the businesses that are members will be there.
They'll have
And-
their logos on
Yeah,
there.
they'll have, and links to their web pages and stuff. So that's just one place that people can find it. I mean, if you Google Starbucks, you also find Starbucks straight out. So, you know, I don't know if that's enough of a reason for a brand like, you know, like a Taco Bell or Starbucks to join the chamber, but it is another thing that we add. So yeah, we're developing a website to be able to put out there and put on our stuff. But I do think it's the township events, the networking opportunities with the community, or our own networking things, which we've done. We've probably done 2 or 3 this year, and hope to continue them, where we get chamber members together and they're exchanging ideas and names and trying to work on things together sometimes. Anything else? Any other ideas you got?
Thanks for coming.
Okay,
I
thanks.
appreciate it. I know you're a very busy person, and you volunteer your time to the chamber, so
Yeah.
thank you.
When's the next meeting? I know I got an email about it, so you're gonna announce it.
I think it's going to be next Wednesday at the firehouse.
Millings,
Next,
right?
yep. So businesses that want to join and want to find out more about it, they should probably come to. I mean, I could put it out to our thing, and maybe the paper can run a little something that we're having a general meeting. But you know, hopefully they're looking at the paper. But I appreciate the
7 o'clock at Millington Fire?
Milton Fire Department. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Gary.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, so for those following at home and here in the courtroom, item number 5, ordinance, capital ordinance 549-24, first reading. Randy, that's probably your world, or?
Yeah, Mayor, this is an amendment to the capital ordinance we had adopted a couple meetings ago. Luck would have it, right after we adopted the ordinance, we had one of our vehicles in a fleet of DPW vehicles, let's just say that no longer can be utilized. So the director, Gallo, and I had discussed various possibilities, and we looked at various options. So one of the items that we want to amend is the acquisition of a large dump truck. We determined that we are able to refurbish that truck with a dump body mounted to the existing frame, and purchase a pickup truck with plow that would obviously have much more use than a large truck with a dump body. But we're able to refurb the large dump truck and get a new pickup truck by this amendment. No extra cost in the ordinance.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions for Randy from the committee? Hearing none, looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes, so second reading is going to be September 4th, and I think, I don't know if we've already posted it.
We have posted it, yes.
We have posted it, so we're going to move, I forget what, I guess
September
September
11th.
11th.
Yeah.
The reason we're moving it from September 11th to September 4th, you might be able to figure that one out. We have a very moving remembrance ceremony every September 11th, or I should say, St. Joseph's Shrine kindly does that, and I think it's important for the committee to attend that. So that's why we're moving it from September 11th to September 4th. Next up, ordinance 550-24, first reading, amending Chapter 29 of the Township's Code entitled Uniform Construction Code and Construction Requirements. How would you like to do this? I know, Jeff, thank you for being here this evening.
No,
Jack?
this is another one. Megan and I discovered that our ordinance provides that you can't get a refund of a construction fee after 45 days.
Right.
That's not permitted by the state rules, so we're just taking it out.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
It's just a cleanup.
Any questions? Thank you for catching that. Any questions from the committee for Jack? All right, this is first reading. Megan, would you do your magic, please?
So moved.
Oh,
She has a deep voice.
Is there a second?
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Veleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
yes, I was wondering why you were smiling. Ordinance 543-24, second reading. This is for adoption, establishing a construction records clearance certificate, supplementing and amending Chapter 29 of the Township Code entitled Uniform Construction Code and Construction Requirements. Jack, maybe you can explain it, and I know Jeff kindly came here this evening.
Yeah, we've been carrying this ordinance for several meetings because we introduced the ordinance that's had been adopted in surrounding towns, but Jeff has pointed out that there's an issue when somebody wants to buy a house as is and assume liability for outstanding construction permits. So we've been carrying it so that we can amend and supplement the ordinance to provide for that possibility.
Thank you. Would the committee like, I mean, Jeff is here this evening, maybe Jeff can give us some color?
Well, again, as Jack said, if someone wanted to buy as is, or if there's open permits and they can't meet the time frame that we set out for them to close, you're basically tying their hands that they won't be able to close on a house the way the ordinance is written now. There are a few options. One is to do a conditional as well as a regular one. You can add an extra one as a conditional. We've already, not here but in another town, just had the people sign an affidavit, have it notarized that they're taking over those permits. Either way, the new owner, whoever it is, has to refile building, not the whole thing, just a change of ownership because they now are accepting those permits as theirs. But again, you could do it conditionally or you can do it the way I've done it elsewhere, just by having them notarize a letter and we just track it through the construction department.
Jeff, in those other towns, have they amended the ordinance or you've just established that practice?
They have not. They have not. And I hate to say it, when I brought it up, it was figure it out, do something that'll work. So, and honestly, sometimes the less ordinance you have, the
I
better
agree.
off you are.
So
So-
do you recommend we just go that route, we adopt this as is and
I would
follow that
probably adopt it
procedure?
as is. If you want to put a note in there that says, you know, if there's an instance, the construction official, I know it sounds like you're giving a lot of power, but it's not, that the construction official has the authority to work with the new owner on how to close out permits. But I don't even know if I would do that. You know, we have not amended, in the other towns, we have not amended anything. And it seems to work. We've had, so far we've done upwards of 60 of these in 2 months. And we had one that they didn't realize they had to get it. And they were closing the next day. And obviously that helped them out. And a week later, the guy had closed out the permits.
I defer to Jeff, he's the one that has to carry it out. So I think if it's working in the other towns, why don't we try that? And if need be, we can amend the ordinance. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So Jack, what ramifications does that have on the way this is written?
On
None.
None.
Because this is the ordinance pretty much identical to
This
all
is what the other towns are doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, if we run into issues, we can amend the ordinance accordingly.
Right. If it becomes a problem, we could always amend it.
Right.
You know, the idea is not to stop someone from buying a house, but you also don't want the person buying the house to all of a sudden have something that they're looking at and saying, I have an open permit for an addition. Okay, they have to close that, and it could be a simple thing. But now they're going to be paying taxes on something that might not have been caught, and they're not aware of it. And I have to say, realtors, attorneys, they have really been very good in the last, I'm going to say within the last 10 years, and it's gotten better, that they will do their own checking anyway. And they want to know because they don't want someone to buy a problem they have to answer for. You know?
Any other questions, Scott?
No, we're good.
You good?
Good.
All right, so if I could, this is second reading, so I'd like to open up.
Thanks, Jeff.
By the way,
Thank you,
yes.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. I'd like to open up the meeting to the public for questions or comments about this ordinance, ordinance 543-24. Sir, would you please state your name and your purpose?
Gary Janakis, Sterling, 215 High Street. So coming at this from a practitioner of real estate in town, in our town specifically, we currently only have a smoke or fire certification that's required to get a CO. We don't have to, we had,
No, that's the fire official. Yes, you
Yeah,
have.
we don't have a seat.
right.
It's already here.
What I want to know, yeah, that's already in place.
That's
And
the fire
that includes a sump pump inspection to make sure it's not dumping into the sewer line, right? So I want to know now, is there something else that does have to be or doesn't have to be kind of confirmed or approved or paid for by the buyer or the seller of a home?
They'll just have to confirm that there are no outstanding building permits, and as Jeff said, if there are, and the buyer wants to assume responsibility for those, Jeff will allow the buyer to do that by signing a waiver.
Okay,
So
but that's
yeah,
not in the ordinance. That's something that we're doing outside of the
That-
ordinance.
That's correct, but in any event, buyers and sellers will have to get a certification that all outstanding construction permits have been satisfied, or all construction permits have been closed.
Okay, so to all the other people that are buying or selling homes in town that aren't here at this meeting and hearing this now, they only have the ordinance to guide them on what they need. And the ordinance is gonna say, here's what you gotta do. And then if you know the secret code, you could go talk to Jeff and say, can we get a waiver? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I think we should make realtors aware of it. It's a very common ordinance. I think
Yeah.
all surrounding towns have already had it for a number of years. Long Hill Township Committee discussed it several years ago and decided not to do it. But it's like any ordinance, yeah, I mean,
You know, I mean, you always do want permits closed out, but yeah, there's these one-off occasions where people don't care, or they need to get it done, or it was a surprise at the end of the,
Right.
you know.
But I think it protects buyers, because I'm sure you've had instances where 20 years later, a buyer goes to sell and finds out.
There was a permit open from
the
way
permit's
before, yeah.
open, and,
Yeah.
then he or she is going to be responsible for something
So,
their predecessor did.
so
Gary,
again,
I think to answer your question, I think the question is, what do they have to do, or just go to Jeff and get a waiver? They need to get a construction records clearance certificate
That's right.
from the construction code official. If for some oddity that the closing is happening too quickly or whatever, Jeff can grant a waiver, doesn't waive them from getting that certificate, it gives them
Delays
more
it.
time
Yeah.
to get that certificate.
Okay.
Or if the buyer wants to buy as is, they would have to sign an affidavit saying that and get it notarized.
yeah, so there's two stops now. One is with Don to get the smoke, fire, sump pump certification, and there's another, is there a fee to this application for making sure the
Did we do
permits
a
are
fee
closed
yet?
out?
It's
'Cause-
in the ordinance, it says it will be set by resolution by the township committee, so you haven't revised your fee schedule, so as of right now, I guess there's no fee for it.
That's right.
Okay, so it's paperwork, but there's not another $100, $75, $300.
At this point.
Okay. Stay tuned?
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll have discussions about that, but as of this point, no.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you can go into SDL portal right
Yeah.
now, pull up an address, and look and see if there's open permits.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yep.
It's not as official as reaching into the township and doing an Oprah, but yeah,
That's the same thing. The Oprah report that you get is
It has
exactly
become,
what the
yes.
SDL
Yeah.
portal
So I,
has.
not speaking for the rest of them, but maybe I am. We're not anticipating a fee for something that simple.
okay.
I will say this, they can do a check on the portal. I would say 99% of the time it's correct,
Yeah.
but when we do a clearance record, we physically go, we check the portal, we check our computer.
You pull up
We
the
also
file.
Physically go to the files and check.
Right.
Because sometimes
That's the old
there's
stuff.
something, they might have gotten all their finals and not gotten a certificate issued, you know. So again, part of that is you physically have to check.
Right, so this is,
Plus, we'll do a physical check as well, but it will actually stop all the over requests for stuff like that, because they can check the portal, they'll file for it to to get one, and they'll get all that information of what is open or what's not.
Right.
When they get that clearing certificate, they get a printout of everything that's closed.
So as a real estate professional, Gary, this is due diligence that you can assure your buyers that you're working on.
Right.
It's
I
valid.
just wanted to understand if there's another form and there's not yet a fee. Was my question, and that's what we've established. Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, so next up,
Anybody
Anybody else?
online?
oh, I'm sorry.
And a vote.
And a vote.
Ooh.
Megan's job to correct me, not yours.
I'm just helping her out.
Megan, what should I do now?
Is there anybody?
Any other member of the public in the courtroom? Seeing none. At home?
If there's anybody on Zoom that would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Next up, ordinance 547-24, second reading for adoption, updating the police department organization chart by eliminating the position of chief, clarifying the duties of the public safety director and the officer in charge, and amending chapter 2 of the township code entitled administration. So I'll make a brief statement here. We have been in consultation with the prosecutor's office throughout every permutation of this ordinance, and of course, consulting with our labor council. At this time, I'm going to make a motion that we pull this ordinance to be discussed, to consider our options, and at a future date. I also want to be clear, we have stated repeatedly throughout this process, the position of Chief of Police in Long Hill Township will remain, it will be filled when we feel it is appropriate. So anybody who's saying anything different to that, I'm making that statement here, and we have made it many times in the past. The position of Chief of Police in Long Hill Township will be filled at the appropriate time. So my motion is that we pull this ordinance.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Roll call.
Motion to pull, I'm voting against it. I'll tell you why. I was told I had to be at this meeting because I asked if you wanted to table it till September. Oh, the mic's on, isn't it? Can you hear? Oh, thanks, sorry. I asked if you wanted to pull this thing till September. I was told, no, we're voting on it in August. I'm here to vote on it today. So I don't want to pull it, I want to vote on it.
This is a final action on this ordinance as is. Any ordinance would have to be reintroduced in the future.
Can't hear you. The kids. The mic, this one.
Something wrong with my, it's not working.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah.
Pull it close.
It's very low.
Yeah. I said this ordinance cannot be voted on in the future. It would have to be reintroduced. So it's essentially
It'll be dead tonight then.
correct.
All right.
Pulling it
All right.
will kill it tonight for the time being.
So the motion.
Clear on that, though.
Yeah, just-
Right.
You're
The motion
voting
I,
to kill this thing.
the motion I have made is to pull this ordinance, and a new ordinance would have to be reintroduced in the future. We will remain in consultation with the prosecutor's office, as we have been for, I don't know, a year. Scott, I don't know how long it's been. And we will consider our option in consultation with the prosecutor's office and Labor Council.
Okay, so there's a motion, there's a second. Roll call vote to pull the ordinance. Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Okay. Let's move on. And anybody who wants to comment or ask questions, well, really more comment, we'll get through the rest of the agenda relatively quickly. So stick around. I just don't want the folks at home or those that are in the audience that are here for other reasons to have to stay for any lengthy conversation right now. So, ordinance 548-24, second reading adoption, amending an ordinance amending section 146 of the Township Land Use Ordinance to include requirements for maintenance and repair of stormwater management systems. And I have a nice lengthy note.
So we will have to carry this ordinance. The planning board was supposed to have a meeting last
Right.
night to do master plan consistency review on this. The only change that we're making to this ordinance is to strike out the $50 fee. However, we still have to wait the 35 days that the planning board has allotted. So we will have public hearing, second reading and adoption at the September 4th meeting. So we'll carry it. So can I have a motion to carry the ordinance?
Don't I say that?
Go ahead.
Can I have a motion to carry this ordinance?
So moved.
And there'll be no further notice or publication.
Okay.
September 4th is the date. Consent
Oh,
agenda.
whoa. Second?
Second?
No.
Is there a second?
I wanted to.
I'll second.
Megan?
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Item number 6, consent agenda. There are two that are being added, Resolution 24-21, and I'll read both of these. Resolution 24-21, accepting the resignation of Committeeman Brendan Ray, Township Committee member of the Township of Long Hill, and appointing for the remainder of the term,
You can say
I
it.
can't say, Aubrey, Reichert Eline. How'd I do, Matt?
Close, you're getting better with all.
I'm getting better, okay.
First name's the problem.
You know, Aubrey's never complained to me, only you
Right.
complain. And then also Resolution 24-22, accepting the resignation of Sean Brown, who has been a great friend to this community and a great officer for many years. He's accepted a position elsewhere, so Sean, thank you. You were very instrumental in getting the accreditation back for the Long Hill Township Police Department, along with the help who you asked to help with you, et cetera, et cetera. So those two ordinances are being added.
Resolutions.
Does anybody have to recuse themselves, or,
I like to pull 24-217.
okay, for further discussion, right?
Correct.
All right.
I don't know what the purpose of this is for. We have somebody, what?
Well, you're going to pull it to discuss it. So let's
Yeah.
get through the
Oh.
consent and then we'll vote on that separately.
Fine.
Thank you, Megan. Any others that need to be pulled? Any recusals?
So just a clarification. So 24-221 is appointing Aubrey to the Township Committee. To
Correct.
take Brendan's place, correct?
That is correct.
222 is accepting Brendan's resignation.
No.
No,
Sean Brown.
Sean Brown's
There is one, I
resignation.
guess, for Brendan then.
Where is Brendan's?
it's with
221.
Aubrey's.
Combined.
Oh,
two,
it's
two,
all,
one.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Yes.
So 221 is Brendan resigns, Aubrey is appointed to the committee. That term runs until December
this year.
31st,
That's right.
right?
And she will be sworn in at the next township committee meeting.
Correct. And then 222 is Sean's resignation.
Correct.
And does that include OEM director?
Deputy OEM director, yes.
Got it.
Coordinator. Deputy OEM coordinator.
Right.
Yeah,
Deputy
okay.
Emergency.
That's the one we're
Management
polling for discussion.
No.
No.
Sean,
All right, we didn't include that, I see.
We're pulling, Matt's pulling.
Yep,
217.
I see.
All right. Now that we have that straight,
Thank you for that clarification, Deputy Mayor Lavender.
anytime, Mayor Paserchia.
Okay, so I'm looking for, I want you to be a little bit more sincere when you say that.
Absolutely.
I'm looking for a motion to approve resolution numbers 24-205 through 24-222. We are pulling 24-217 for further discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lavender?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Matt, fire away.
Yes, I don't see why we need a deputy. Joe Hubert didn't have a deputy, and he was a civilian employee with a full-time job. I said, when Joe Hubert was the OEM coordinator, I don't believe he had a deputy, and he had a full-time job. And besides this, we have somebody we're paying a lot of money to. That's Sean was on the deputy because he was already on the payroll. I know Mr. Fulliger's not getting any money, but I don't see the need of this appointment. A lot of things are in flux right now, and I don't feel like it's appropriate now to start adding people to this department when we don't know what's going on going forward.
I echo Matt's sentiments on that one.
Well, my response to that is, one, it's a volunteer position, as Matt correctly pointed out. I would point out that Ken was the OEM director for a number of years and did a phenomenal job in that. Intermittently, over the last number of years, when he stepped down, and Shane Daly had taken over, and then, of course, Joe came in, Ken, in his previous employment, worked for JCP&L, so Ken has always graciously volunteered his time whenever we've had major outages. So for me, it's just it's a volunteer position with invaluable experience. He's going to help anyway, and it's a volunteer position. I don't honestly understand the objection. And I would point out, the very person I just pointed out, Shane Daly, was the deputy to Ken. This isn't something that hasn't existed in the past.
I didn't say it didn't exist in the past, I just said I'm not for it right
Right.
now. I didn't say it didn't exist in the past, I'm just saying I'm not for it right now under these circumstances.
Right.
So I have a question. Where did the recommendation come from?
Director Peoples came to me and said Ken, again, graciously offered his time, and Director Peoples thought it was a good idea. Frankly, so do I.
And Matt, so what exactly is your objection to Ken if it's not costing us money and it's replacing a position that is now being vacated? Does it have to do with Ken, or does it have to do with something else?
No, that's like I told you it had to do with.
And Vic, why are you against it?
I just don't think it's the right time,
Why not?
because we're in flux here with the whole OEM director. There's a bunch of stuff going on here. I just don't think it's the time to do it.
Those are separate,
In a,
separate
yeah,
concerns or whatever.
This is that time of year where, like, the OEM director is sort of, they're getting ready for the hurricanes and the floods. I don't think it's wise.
I don't think it's that important that we discuss it necessarily. We vote on it tonight. I think we
Okay,
can
so let's-
table it.
We
All
can
right.
table,
Yes,
it,
fine.
but
I wanna-
I'm just perplexed. I mean, this is such a minor thing. I don't understand the pushback against it. I mean, I didn't even understand why it came up. But again, it just seems kind of crazy.
I will
Not
admit,
to put somebody in.
it was brought to my attention. I thought it was a great idea. I never expected any conversation on this in opposition, so I didn't really socialize it with
It's for the
anybody.
OEM director. It is kind of like
It's not the OEM
I'm
director, it's the
sorry,
deputy
a
director.
deputy, but
recommended the person, and there's a lot of moving parts here, and I'm not comfortable voting on it right now, plain and simple.
I think there were a couple of deputies, now that I think about it, when Ken was the OEM director. I think there were a couple of deputy directors.
Before Megan's time.
Well, we do have Joe Hubert as a director, as a deputy right now.
That's right.
No, that's actually a good point.
We already have one.
so while Joe Hubert would just remain in place, who I'm very comfortable with, until we have further discussion on this matter, right? That's
Right,
all.
I have no problem. If you
Okay.
want to have further discussion, let's pull 24-217.
I would make a motion that we carry it to the next meeting, at least, maybe the one after.
All right, the second meeting in September, if you don't mind, Megan.
Okay, so the motion is to carry it to,
The second meeting in
Yep.
September.
so that was Deputy Mayor Lavender.
I'll,
Is there a second?
well, I don't think anybody, like
I
Matt?
have no problem with that.
Okay, so Matt seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, committee reports. Matt, you've been very talkative tonight, so we're
wow.
going to let you.
Well, I do from the DPW. Al announced a couple weeks ago, Town Hall's been doing, it's a great program. We're now recycling K-cups, so if you have to reuse the coffee K-cups and things like that, you don't even have to empty them out. You can bring them down to the DPW lobby and dump as many as you want in there, and they'll get repurposed. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Matt. We'll jump right over to Vic, because
All right.
look, he's chomping.
It's a long one. But first we'll go with beautification. Beautification, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but we started wrapping the utility boxes. I'm sorry?
Wait a minute, please.
Oh.
I think
She's
you
about-
added,
she's
please.
about to-
Megan didn't say
Aha.
please. You added, please.
That looks like the
And
portal.
there we go.
That looks like the portal into autumn.
Into where, autumn?
Yeah, you like walk through that door and you're walking hand in hand with Vic into October.
I think they look great thus far. They're not completed yet, correct, Deb? They're just beginning, correct?
Vic, where did they come from? People are going to ask.
Right from artists and photographers right here in town.
Thank you.
So that was the one that was installed right outside of Town Hall, and then these will be coming to the different locations. It was just been too hot.
Are there any
for the
ferrets on
rats.
them?
No, no ferrets,
not that I recall.
unfortunately.
Okay, I'm just asking.
And look at those.
So, yeah.
Little birdie, talk to me.
Those are beautiful.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to open space.
Let's go.
Open space is cooking with gas. We have a strong committee. We're getting things. We're pushing the ball forward towards the goal line. We're opening communications with the original architect or engineer that is designed the trails. We presented ideas to the current engineer, Joe Vooch. We're waiting to see if we can get them approved. As far as what we could put in Central Park, as far as what type of field, where it would fit, can it fit? We're going to have a dog park. So we have a lot of ideas. We're waiting to know what we can do. Hopefully what we suggested will be approved. And we will present to the Township Committee to move forward with it.
Can I ask a question on that? And maybe you can go back to Joe and maybe at the next
sure.
meeting come back. When we purchased the property across the street, we used county open space funds and local open space funds. At the time, I believe there were it's a 70-plus acre property. At the time, there were about 8+ acres, I don't know, Jack, if you remember, roughly that were buildable, whatever, a ball field, et cetera, et cetera. As we know with the DEP, probably 30, 40, 50 years ago, all 70 acres over there might have been buildable. And as time has gone on, it's become less and less. So my question is this: is it still 8 acres buildable? And I don't know, and if you could ask Joe.
Yeah, we're waiting to hear back. Again, we made we made our proposals, we shared our ideas. Now we're waiting to find out whether or not they are possible. And if not, he's going to make recommendations as to what we can actually
Regardless of what we propose putting there, the amount of acreage that is buildable, that shouldn't matter what we're proposing, right? The DEP should be able to answer that question pretty forthwith.
Right. If that has shrunk, then Joe's going to let us know that
Right.
we can't, we no longer have those 8 acres. It's now 6 or whatever. Or
Exactly.
We're going to know, but we're going to know soon, and we're going to be presenting to the Township Committee so that we can move forward and
That's great.
and get that Central Park project
That's great.
really going. It's time.
Will it include a clock?
Yeah.
No clock.
It might.
It might, okay.
And now
It's going to have a
that's
sundial.
when you thought you got rid of me. Here we go.
He's going to have a sundial.
We're gonna. The rec update for August 14th is as follows. Slide 1 here. All right. Still time to enjoy Sterling Lake. We're open every day from now until Labor Day. Our Family Fun Day for members will be held on 8/24, featuring contests such as the Biggest Splash Contest, the Sandcastle Master, marker races, sidewalk chalk drawings, and much, much more. Pickleball play at Myersville Ball Field continues to provide hours of fun, and the court is getting a lot of use. Long Hill residents can book court times for free on Community Pass.
Well, hold on a second, Committeeman Verleza. Aren't you supposed to say something at the top of that previous slide?
Please don't.
It's not on there.
Just let him go.
Think responsibly. I see it right there.
You can say.
No,
Okay,
I wasn't
fine.
hit with that one.
Carry on.
All right. All right, we got slides 3 through 5. Mother Nature had some other plans for our National Night Out on August 6th. With storms hitting just as the fun was set to start, we moved a lot of the activities inside Town Hall and the library. Our emergency services groups still showed up in force. With the help of store manager Tati of Starbucks of Gillette, we were able to turn lemons into lemonade. Thank you, Starbucks, for providing free lemonade and iced coffee to all who attended. Also, thank you to Carney Bank and Gary Giannakis of Weichert Realtors for coming and sharing lots of great giveaways with the crowd. Thank you to Laura, our face painter and balloon maker. She brought lots of smiles. The library certainly brought fun showing Sing 1 and Sing 2 for the kids. They also hosted a temporary tattoo station, a coloring station, and provided a backdrop of black paper for indoor chalk drawings. Thank you to everyone who participated and came out. Thank you to our county partners, Hope One and JBWS, who came a distance to spend the evening with us, providing lots of great information. A special thank you to our sponsor who made this all possible, the Watchung Hills Regional Municipal Alliance. Unfortunately, some of the events that could only be held outside had to be canceled. However, we have rescheduled 4 Flight Rock to Thursday, which is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. in the park. Please remember this is a free concert. Again, it's sponsored by WHRMA. Come out with the family, a picnic dinner, your beach blanket, and chairs for a great time with classic rock music from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Also, the Urban Cone ice cream truck will be on hand with delicious ice cream for sale. Also rescheduled from National Night Out, the official Fun Guys will be meeting everyone on the Cantor Park Turf Field for a great evening of family relay races. Again, another free family night out thanks to our sponsor, WHRMA. We hope you'll join us from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Friday, August 23rd. Fall field hockey registration is in full swing now. Go to Community Pass to register for this great fall program. Our coaches from Center Court will be back this year to train with our kids. Friday, September 6th, 7:30 p.m. till 9:30 p.m. is the Sterling Lake Dance on the Beach. Long Hill students in grades 6 through 8 are invited to join us for a fun night of dancing on the beach and games. There's a $5 admission fee at the gate. See the website for more information and permission slip that every participant needs to sign and bring with them. Please note, this is a weather-dependent event. Chaperones are needed. Please contact the rec department if you can help. All right, and last but not least, the Morris County Mosquito Commission will have a display in our lobby.
You missed a word there.
I'm sorry?
You missed a word.
Do you real?
Or it's a sound.
The abuse continues. Bzzz. The Morris County Mosquito Commission will have a display in our lobby during the week of September 3rd with lots of information on mosquitoes and ticks. With all the rain last week, please remember to empty the standing water from pots and buckets. And that concludes my recreation update. Thank you.
Question on that. Will they be spraying?
I have no idea.
Good to know.
It doesn't tell me.
But in either case, that was a great update. Thank you.
I thought maybe everybody was going to do the little bzzz at the same time.
Get a 10 on delivery.
I try my best.
Scott?
Nothing here, thank you.
Thank you. So just a couple of things from the First Aid Squad. Last night, the First Aid Squad heard a presentation from Dr. Bruce Ruck, Director of the New Jersey Poison Control. The squad recommends that you visit the New Jersey Poison Control website and learn how to poison-proof your home. I'll read the address for those who can write it down, but you can just Google it and it will pop up. It's www.njpies.org. And the recommendation comes from Captain English and the squad. The First Aid Squad is still in the middle of their fundraising year. I've said this many times in the past. They are 100% volunteer. They do an unbelievable job. 750 calls per year, and it kind of remains consistent. So basically, two calls a day. So if you are able to, please donate generously. And that's it. Randy, administrator report.
Yeah, Mayor, I have a couple things. Public Works monthly report for August. Over the past month, they used 22 tons of asphalt for pothole fixes and blacktop curbing. They did 4 days of processing of styrofoam recycling, removed a couple trees. They did street sweeping throughout the entire town. They retrofitted 55 catch basins, did a lot of tree trimming. They actually finished up today with the dumpster enclosure at Municipal Building in the back, and did township-owned lawn maintenance, obviously, and Matt already mentioned the K-Cup recycling. So please take advantage of that, along with all the other recycling that we have at Public Works, including food waste, styrofoam, and take a look at our website to look at any others. We had a TAC meeting, which is the Traffic Advisory Committee meeting yesterday. I think it was very productive. We had the county in, traffic engineer and her assistant. We talked primarily about two problem areas, Northfield and Valley, and also the Myersville Circle. So we're going to be doing some temporary, hopefully, improvements on the Northfield approaching, going south, approaching Valley Road, that hopefully will help people with the site and the stop sign at Valley Road.
Can you be more specific?
Yeah, we're going to be, and remember, the road is out to bid for reconstruction, so right now, it's a perfect time to put some paint notifications in the street, stop ahead, a white line maybe on the shoulder that shows you're coming to a stop sign, and a wider stop bar, maybe a larger crosswalk for attraction, and to put temporary signs that say, well, not temporary, but signs that say stop ahead. We have one out there now, but we want to get more up-to-date signs that will have the reflective writing on it.
Did any recommendations come for some of the through traffic on Valley? Because it does approach that intersection very fast. Is there a warning of that intersection coming up, or is there any kind of traffic calming that is talked as a possibility?
Well, we did discuss traffic light. Obviously, is always a discussion with that intersection, and it has been in past years. And I believe it was back in 2004 or 5. There was enough traffic to warrant a traffic light. At that time, the township committee decided not to move forward with it. Even if we move forward today with it, it's like a 3-year process. So, and traffic lights cost a little more than what I thought. They cost about, to do a whole intersection, about $600,000. And we would probably need to take some property also. So, there's much more involved in doing a traffic light. These quick fixes, if you will certainly help. We'll take another look at Valley Road itself on the approach, and maybe see if there's I don't think there's any signs that say intersection ahead or something like that. So maybe that's something we could talk with the county about, and put up a couple signs there.
And that's a county road as well, and that's what, is that 40 miles an hour or 35 there? 40.
I think right there it's 40.
And how hard is it to reduce the speed limit there?
I don't have an answer to that.
That would be a great answer to get. I mean, I live in that neighborhood. That's an uphill stop sign. Your wheels spin when you try to get out. I personally recommend my sons and daughters don't go down there and turn left. And that's on a sunny day. the traffic comes very fast in both directions on Valley Road. So I definitely think we should take a look at slowing that speed limit down there, if that's something that's possible, because I think as you get towards Main Street and Sterling, doesn't the speed limit go down there?
35, yes.
Correct.
And Sergeant Sutton actually gave us an analysis of all the accidents in there for like the last few years. And correct me if I'm wrong, either Vic or Randy, he said the majority of them, I think almost all of them, were caused by driver inattentiveness coming from Northfield Road onto Valley Road. So it was people just not paying attention as they approached the stop sign caused the accidents. It wasn't the people on Valley Road.
Well, I can tell you, being on Valley Road and having lived here for 27 years, I'm afraid of that intersection.
Oh, it's bad, no doubt about it.
And I have several times, in all the cars I've owned, spun my tires trying to get out there when I see someone appear coming up, and they're not doing 40, they're doing 50.
I actually, in retrospect, think that it might be something to be discussed. Maybe drop the speed limit on.
Especially
I
with all
mean,
the-
it's
all
never
the-
as easy as you think, though.
Well, but Vic, think about it. We have all this building going on in the towns around us. We are being surrounded by affordable housing and all this building, and folks are coming to our stores to shop,
Which is a good thing.
which is a good thing. But with that,
With that increased traffic flow.
you said yourself, I heard you lamenting the same thing as well, with all the traffic down the other end of town, right? So I think this is something that if it's possible, we ought to look at it.
Well, one thing we have to be clear on, and Randy, you did touch upon it about the signs in the county road. This is a county road. We cannot just, even if
Right.
we wanted to magically put in a sign.
There's a process.
A traffic light is 600 grand. They will do a study, both for the light and for the reduction of the speed limit. They've done many studies on Myersville Road, for example, and each time they've come back, well, in conjunction with the Long Hill Police Department, they said there's no justification for it. My only point is, we cannot snap our fingers and
That's
make
right.
that decision.
We have to start the process. And-
Right.
And it's incumbent upon us to start the process.
Fair enough.
That's it, Mayor.
That's it? Okay. Discussion, Park Mobile, is this something you're working on, or
Actually, I'm going to flip it over to Megan because she's been taking the lead on it.
So Park Mobile is,
Oh,
Park
the
Mobile.
parking, okay, sorry.
Yes, it is the mobile parking app that you can go to a train station and pay for a daily parking pass. You guys, at the end of last year, I believe, asked if we would research standalone machines or an app or something like that. And Colette and I and Nancy, when she was here, and Randy have been researching a few different applications. The Millington standalone machine does have some issues, as DPW Director Al Gallo knows, and it costs the town money to use. This Park Mobile doesn't cost the town anything to use. The only thing I would be asking you guys is, if we were to go forward with Park Mobile, I would suggest marking spots and painting them and numbering them. So on the app, you would go in and reserve your parking by number. New Providence apparently is going forward with a sandwich board type approach. Colette and I have tried to go there and find the sandwich board and haven't been able to find it.
What does that mean, a sandwich board?
So they're designated a part in the lot, saying
Okay.
that there's a certain amount of spots that they can sell, and putting a sandwich board saying this is where you can park in the lot. I think it would be more beneficial to mark the spots. But going forward, I don't know how many spots you're looking to designate. We haven't sold out of any of our parking permits since 2020, ironically. We sold out of Gillette right before COVID hit, and then we didn't reimburse anybody. But that was the last time. We didn't sell out of Gillette parking permits in 2019 or 2018. And we sold out of Sterling in 2019. But then after that, we sold 49 parking passes in 2020, 15 in 2021. So it's slowly dwindling. And we sold so far this year for 2024, 210 Gillette parking permits.
Out of how many?
These are
many?
just dailies.
Okay.
And Sterling, we've sold 145, and those are $5 permits each day. The issue that we're running into is people that want to park at Gillette Park train station at 6 o'clock in the morning, they have to request the daily parking pass the night before.
Right.
Because then it has to get accepted by either Delia or myself. We have to send them payment requests. We then have to alert the police. It's a very tedious.
Yeah, Chatham does it where you can't park on a daily until after 11 o'clock and you go to the police station just there. But theirs is a different situation than ours. That they don't have enough spots for the demand, whereas we apparently have some
We have open
some
spots.
flexibility. And I use Park Mobile all the time. When I go into New York City, I park in Jersey City. It's a great app. Quick, boom, done.
I used it in Summit one day recently. It's super easy to use. Like I said, it's not costing.
No capital cost at all. We don't pay for anything.
No.
So there's no reason not to. From what I can.
The only thing is, what I'd be asking you guys is how many spots you would want to allot to each train station. If you'd want to get rid of the standalone machine at Millington, and if you wanted to number the spots or do a sandwich board.
Contract-wise, because we can change depending on demand, but Park Mobile's not going to come in there and go through the expense. If all of a sudden next year we go from 50 spots down to 10 spots.
They that was one of the questions that I asked them, and they would be okay. They're looking more to get all towns on their app as opposed to getting the volume. Because I said, if we're not selling, 30 passes at Gillette, are you guys okay with that? And they said that they.
And actually, that's a silly question now that I replay it in my mind. There's no capital cost really, it's just the app.
It's the signs.
Yep.
It's the
Yeah,
signs
okay.
that we're
Yeah,
posting
yeah.
saying scan here to download the app and pay the fee.
I got you. Any questions for Megan?
Let's do it.
Megan, you making a motion?
I don't think you have to.
There'll be an agreement.
There has, yes, the QPA did review the agreement, so we can have that on the next township committee meeting,
September 4th.
September 4th.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing that work. Old, new business.
Under new business, I'd like to discuss making the administrator back to the appropriate authority. If that, I don't know what the process is to go forward with that, I don't know what we have to do.
It would be an ordinance.
Okay. So we'd have to change the ordinance back to make the administrator, if we wanted to go that way.
Correct.
Okay. So I'm suggesting that.
So how do we go about it? Like, what's the?
Well, I would hold off. I mean, we have to discuss it in, I don't think that's something we do independently.
I don't mean to be rude, but we can't hear you in cheap seats.
The mics aren't working too well.
You can't hear me?
I know you heard me.
No, so I don't know if we need to introduce the ordinance. I just don't know I don't remember how we did it in the last time. So that's why I'm asking, how do we go forward doing this again?
It's
Get
an
it
ordinance.
back? Okay, thank you, Jack.
Okay, so old, new? Nothing? All right, perfect. Announcements, as we had said previously, the September 11th meeting has been rescheduled to September 4th. The reason, as I explained earlier, St. Joseph's Shrine has a remembrance ceremony on 9/11 for those we lost. And it's a wonderful, wonderful ceremony if you've never attended. So I invite the community and a lot of the folks here in the audience to come. That is on September 11th. Do we know the time? Is it 6? 7. I think this is something before at 6 and then 7 o'clock it begins. I apologize. We'll get it on the website somewhere. That said, any announcements, Matt? Anything you have to add?
Nope.
Nick? Scott? None. All right, so item number 12, meeting is open to the public. Remarks and statements pertaining to any matter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes out of respect for those who also might want to speak.
Good evening. My name is John Russo, 18 Donaldson Avenue, Rutherford, New Jersey. Mr. Mayor, Council, Deputy Mayor, thank you for allowing me a few minutes to speak here tonight. I was here on behalf of the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. I am currently the president of that association, and I was going to ask you to respectfully pull that ordinance, which you did prior to me speaking. So I will defer most of my comments, but I do just want to mention a few things. The State Chiefs Association is here for you. We can help get a chief in place in your department because we believe that that is the proper way forward. We have no interest in the name of who that's going to be. We don't care. We advocate for the position of chief of police because we know it works. And unfortunately, we see once or twice a year jurisdictions move towards a director, and we know how it's going to end. It just doesn't work. So we actually have a mentoring program that the chiefs provide to your agency, to your jurisdiction, and to your agency. And unlike a private company, it's free of charge. We're not looking to make money off of it. We're not looking to charge a jurisdiction. We want to see a police chief in your agency, and we want to see that chief be effective. It's in our best interest because if you don't have a police chief that's effective or you have a police director, things kind of go sideways, and then we have to end up getting involved with all kinds of, helping with litigation, and it does not make sense. So that offer is out to you. Also, I'm the chief of the Rutherford Police Department up in Bergen County, and I had the unfortunate experience of living through a civilian police director. And it was a terrible experience. What happened to our department, what happened to our borough, it became so divisive. It was really an embarrassment, and it is a blemish on the history of Rutherford that's never going to go away. And ultimately, the police department became a topic at every council meeting for several years. The lack of police chief, the acting civilian director, it ultimately became a topic that swayed an election. And it shouldn't be that way. Your police department should not be that way, right? I know when I was growing up, there was an infomercial, and I don't want to make light of this, but it was this Ronco oven. And the catchphrase was, set it and forget it. Make your chief and allow the police department to do what it does. You don't want to have to be dealing with them. I know what you guys have to deal with on a daily basis. You don't want to have to deal with the litigation and the grievances. Some of them will be petty. Most of them will not be. They'll be legitimate. But grievances, litigation, neglect that comes with this position, we've seen it time and time again. I remember sitting in the audience as a Rutherford police officer, listening to the State Chiefs of Police and the Bergen County Police Chiefs Association explain to my mayor and council exactly what was going to happen. They chose not to listen to them. They made the civilian director, and everything these associations said came to fruition. So again, if you need me, I'm going to leave my cards up here. You can reach out to me about the mentoring program. If you want to hear more about what happened in Rutherford, I lived through it, I'll gladly explain it. But please, have the respect and the confidence in your police department. Make a police chief. Thank you.
Chief, I appreciate
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. In the interest of my 3 minutes, I'll read from my prepared statement so I don't miss anything. My name is Michael Karofsky. 531 Speedwell Avenue is the professional address. 5 Noah Court, Hackettstown, New Jersey is my residential address. As I said, my name is Mike Karofsky. I'm the Chief of Police of the Morris Plains Police Department. I'm the current Chief of the Morris County Police Chiefs Association. And while we haven't addressed the governing body on this topic before, I can assure you, since day one of your thought of moving with the Public Safety Director and Chief Naga's retirement, I've been meeting with Director Peoples previously to his appointment, so we have remained interested in this topic. I was planning on addressing you this evening on your perceived support of an ordinance eliminating the chief of police and reclarification of roles and responsibilities for the chief and officer in charge. My hope now is to guide you in your future discussions and decisions. There are numerous successful examples of public safety directors abiding by established directives in this state, working with their officers in charge. Yet somehow, your public safety director requires additional authority to accomplish his objectives. I refer you to the Township of Long Hill Police Department assessment report prepared by former Chief of Long Hill Police Department, Robert Falzarano, which is dated November 21st, 2023, which I strongly note was reviewed, approved, and adopted by your own resolution on January 24th, 2024. Mr. Falzarano makes many recommendations, but I specifically call your attention to page 47, subsection entitled Remain Independent. Mr. Falzarano in point 1 writes, appoint an experienced professional law enforcement executive with credentials, a factual demonstrated record for leadership, organization, policy development, and succession planning, experience to review the MRI recommendations and this very report. The candidate selected by your very own action, Mr. Peoples, must provide successful examples of mentoring accomplishments. And while point 1 in that report continues on, immediately following in point 2, Mr. Falzarano writes in a very decisive and short statement, and I quote, after the recommendations have been implemented, the mentoring process must be completed for the appointment of a chief of police. Nowhere in this 60-page document does Mr. Falzarano advocate, recommend, or call for the removal of the chief police position. I ask all of you now, and why whose recommendation you are making this assessment. Additionally, the last annual, and I emphasize annual, written performance evaluations of your command staff have not been completed since before 2015. The previously proposed resolution on second reading seeks to redefine the authority of the identified officer in charge. However, you do not have any recent or objective assessment of Lieutenant Ciambrello or Lieutenant Marcheski's skills and abilities, and you appear to completely dismiss the invaluable and irreplaceable institutional knowledge and experience that Alexis Ciambrello and Lieutenant Marcheski possess. Our goal is not anti-public safety director. Our goal is to see that you reappoint a chief of police. I strongly urge you to reconsider the course in which you've set yourselves. We are here to support you, the state association, the county association, your community, and the Long Hill Township Police Department. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
My name is Frank Ruggiero. I'm a lifelong resident of Sterling. I'm going to talk about the same topic from a different perspective. For 33 years, I've been employed by a municipality in the County of Union. I'm not going to name which because I don't want any misrepresentations that I'm representing the town today versus myself as a citizen. For 29 years of the 33, I've been the chief financial officer of that municipality. The municipality has a population of 30,000 people compared to Long Hill Township's 8,700. We have 77 sworn officers compared to Long Hill's 34 officers. And I bring out these statistics for one reason, about the financial side of it. We went with the police director 2 years ago, and during my tenure with municipal government, I realized a behavior pattern that when one town does something unique, many towns want to follow that pattern, believing it's the right thing to do. But egos what they are, no one has the ability to stand up and say, we've made a mistake. And this is not what we thought it was supposed to be. Everyone protects their decision, tries to show you the best foot forward. That being said, we have one police director. Well, we learned the lesson of needing a CLEO, which is an acronym for Chief Law Enforcement Officer. And for the benefit of the public, I'm sure everybody in this room knows what that is. A civilian director, the key word being civilian, has no police power. They can't make arrests, influence an investigation, assign manpower, approve or assign permits, anything. So they need an officer working next to them hand in hand all day, and that person is directed to disseminate the orders to the rank and file. So in effect, financially, you're paying two people to do the job that a police chief can do independently, because he both has all the police powers granted to him by law, as well as can be the key administrator, working with the administration, the mayor, and the committee, handling the administrative side of the operation. So in my town, we pay our civilian director $145,000 a year, leaving the Clio out of it. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong with the limited access of information I have for your town, you have two people, one director, one assistant director, and it's my understanding the director makes $217,000 and the assistant director makes $130,000. So that $347,000, now needing a team of 3 people to do the job that one person should be doing. Now, I list the amount of officers in the population, but I left out one key component. For example, Plainfield, a very interesting town, has 10,000 criminal complaints a year. The town I work for has about 800 criminal complaints a year. And again, it's my understanding Long Hill Township, thank God, only has 50 to 60 criminal complaints a year. So you have a very large police department, and they do an outstanding job. I've lived here my entire life, managed by 3 people, which could be 1, handling a very minimal amount of, serious activity. Now, what that $347,000 represents to the average homeowner, if you take $347,000 and divide it by the tax levy adopted by this council for this year's budget of $10,646,000, that represents 3.25% of taxes. So without these 2 unnecessary positions, managing your police department, that could be handled by 1, every homeowner in this town could save 3.25% of their taxes. My entire family still lives in town. We own 5 houses among us. I speak for them, and I'm sure I could, speculate everyone else would want to pay 3.25% lower than what they're paying. It's not all about money. As the previous speakers represented, there is an ideology that a civilian director will be more loyal to the administration and a police chief will be more loyal to his team. And I think there's some truth to that. I mean, police have a terrible job, we all know it. They deal with incredible things on the street on a daily basis, under normal conditions. And what's been happening lately in the world, where social media puts a tremendous amount of pressure on law enforcement, as well as both the political and demographic attacks against our law enforcement today, they need more support now than ever. And that support should come from within. And I think the proper place for that support is their leader. Someone who has worked their way up through the rank and file, has spent a significant amount of time on the street, so they individually understand what the current team is going through today. And I think that's very serious. Now, I read in your ordinance, I think it's section 2, letter G, that part of the duties of the civilian director will be to obtain and maintain state and national accreditation for the department. Now, I know one of the tools used to achieve that goal is supplied by a company called Lexipol. And I believe Lexipol was bought out a previous company called Rogers Group. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your current director is a principal owner, has a principal stake, a principal manager in Lexipol. So I would caution both the town and the individual that he doesn't subject himself to an ethical problem profiting as an employee and both a vendor of the township. Something to seriously consider. I also brought, and I'll give it to your clerk, this is a publication.
Is that a conflict? Could be.
This is a publication issued by a state agency in 2007, very actively and completely listing both the pros and cons of a police chief versus the director. Again, it's an older document, but it still stands true. It's very thorough. And I would recommend you read it thoroughly, so if this topic ever comes back up for discussion, you're well informed of the situation.
I think you might have submitted this report to us once before.
I did not, but I
Somebody
just,
has.
in my research today, preparing to come here today, I came across, I thought it was significant. I read through it, it seemed very, very comprehensive. The prior Chief Naga's situation was brought up today, and, I understand the city had to pay $600,000 as a settlement for, hostile work environment suit. So $600,000 last year, another $350,000 this year. That's nearly $1 million that could be spent more wisely to benefit the town in a more direct way to the homeowners. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Frank Liberato, Heritage Road, Millington. I concur and agree with everything the previous guest speakers had mentioned. So I won't repeat any of what they said, but I'll hit a couple other points. You know, we're coming up on a 2-year anniversary without a chief. It's been a long road. A lot of money has been expensed. You spend money on reports, studies, and I really thought with Chief Falzerano's report, that was going to be the kind of end-all, cure-all handbook to kind of follow. And I do agree about the fact that at no point did it ever mention vacating the chief's position. So I guess my question would be simply, where was this sponsored from? Was this a collaboration with the prosecutor's office, or was this a collaboration amongst all the committee members that decided that this was the time to vacate it and just have the director solely? I'm just kind of looking for what the reasoning was. Maybe there's a valid point that brought this to the resolution where you wanted to push this through. You know, I'm just trying to understand where you were coming from. You know, having or witnessed everything that had gone on, at least on the public side, not on the exec side, but, you know, who was really pushing this? Was this more from the prosecutor's office? Was it, you know, was it Mr. Pigeon? You know, how do we arrive at this, I guess, is my question. If somebody maybe can give me some
Correct me if I'm wrong,
direction.
I think it's in Mr. Falzerano's report.
To vacate the chief's position?
No,
to
that's
vacate.
not in there.
So your question is specifically.
Right. How do we arrive at
vacate
that?
the chief's
Right.
position.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to answer that, but I don't know.
I can answer it to the extent that I can say that the Township Committee never intended to vacate the chief's position on a permanent basis, that it was meant to be temporary. I don't think we can discuss it any further at this point in time, because as the mayor said, we are in further talks with the prosecutor's office.
So was it noted as temporary in there and I missed it? Or that's just the premise that it was being introduced under?
It was in the ordinance that was introduced
Right.
initially.
But not in.
It actually had chief vacant.
That's correct. Which was the intent then and is the intent now.
And I think it was also made clear in the preamble that it was not meant to be a permanent deletion of that, or removal of that position. It was just until such time as the Township Committee felt it was an appropriate person ready to become chief.
I guess, you know, on the outside looking in, and I'm not privy to any of what all of you experience behind the closed doors, but I guess on the outside looking at this, it gives the impression, you know, it's been 2 years, you worked through all the reports. It just kind of gives the impression that, you know, is there that much that has to be done to get someone to a chief's point within our department? Because it also, it appears, and don't take this the wrong way, but it actually appears like a no confidence vote from the commission. Maybe that's not the right word I'm using, from the council, but when you're looking to vacate something, anyone as an officer looks to aspire, and at some point they want to be the chief. I mean, it's something that people go into law enforcement to do. Some don't want to, but when you vacate that position or you shelf that position for an unknown period of time, I think it kind of takes the wind out of some people's sails. It's almost kind of brings morale down. I don't think it's a morale booster, because now you don't have something necessarily to aspire to. You know, unless you had a mentorship program set up in place like was recommended, was already running, and you had 6 candidates running through, and you're saying, listen, in 2 years, we're going to pick somebody out of this pool that's in this program. But when that kind of information is not out there, I don't think it's good for morale. Just speaking as an individual, you know, I'm not an officer, I'm just a resident, you know, I'm a first responder, but, you know, it would be like us vacating a chief's position in the fire department. You know, somebody, you aspire to do that. So I would hope you'll reconsider this down the road, hopefully not bring it back for a vote, maybe do something different. But I think we have plenty of qualified people within this department, having grown up here in town, and I'm sure with the help of the Chiefs Association, you'll get to the right person and we can just move forward. I think it's been 2 years. I think it's time we put this to bed and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Charles Aronowitz, Millington, Heritage Road. I've lived here 43 years. Based on this proposed ordinance of elimination in chief, I read reread the 96 pages written by Chief Administrator Robert Falzarano, former chief. When he was hired, this committee said, this guy is scary smart. I reread the whole report. It does not say eliminate the chief of police. But the interesting thing that's in that report, since, as the Chief Korski mentioned, since 2016, the 2 lieutenants didn't have an annual performance review. Now, what does that mean? If they needed certain qualities or training to become chief, they should have gotten notice of that since 2016. You have been responsible since November 10th, 2022 for the police department. Did they get reviewed, the 2 lieutenants? Don't answer it. But I'll tell you what, I came from an organization, a partnership that was up and out. And these 2 lieutenants here that are sitting here tonight with this proposed ordinance that you tabled just frustrated their careers and motivation. And that's not fair to them as a taxpayer and what they've committed to do in this town. So if you're thinking about eliminating the police chief position, you better reread the smart guy's report. On another matter, you're proposing a captain in this proposed ordinance. For those of you that haven't been in this town that long, we eliminated the captain position 11 years ago. So in the ordinance, you put, well, we don't have to fill it. Well, if you did that, put the police chief back in. Do your homework and reread the report like I did. And I think you'll come to a different conclusion. Thank you for your time, and you got to look in the mirror yourself tonight about these 2 lieutenants that haven't been evaluated since 2016. That's deplorable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Richard Dorsey, Sterling, Long Life resident. I just want to reiterate some things the chiefs have said. I have been in law enforcement, had 27 years, 13 of them were in administration. And through those 13 years, and even from before that as a sergeant, we were mentored to establish and achieve, maybe not to be chief, but to be a better police officer. Here, I believe, it's like just mentioned, 2 years, no mentoring. Bob Falzarano's, I read his reports thoroughly. I've worked with Bob as a police chief, when he was a police chief, when he's administrator. He's gone into 2 towns. One town, they wanted to demolish the police department. Again, he brought it back in. First thing he did is got it up and going and got his police chiefs going. He didn't look for directors. He mentored the people that were there. The thing when they said mentoring, and I've worked with Bob for many years, was inferred to be as he's done in one other department, where he brought in somebody that acted as a mentor, plus did the functions of that were non-police work. And 85%, I would say, is not actually, is looking over reports, mentoring, finding the people to do certain things that are qualified to do here and there. Apparently, we haven't been doing that for years here. And that's the important part. And as the chief said, we need a chief of police, not a director. We're not big enough for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Commander.
I swore to myself I was not going to do this. Joe Ferrandino, 623 Chestnut Street, Sterling, New Jersey.
I said this all before. Me and Scott had a conversation last night about, me sitting on the town council, and I could tell you definitely you don't want me. And here's why. Because remember I said this is Shinola and this ain't? Bear with me. The report written was by the person that was proposed to be the director. Me personally, my money, my bet was on Bob Falzarano. Peoples came out of nowhere in my book, but doesn't matter because it even makes more sense now. Lexipro, Rogers Group, MRI, Naga with the radios not working in certain parts of the town, he's in charge of the 911 center. And now he's out, Peoples is in at double the rate of almost any other public safety director. All I want to say is quid pro quo. You did a great job, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks, Joe.
Joseph Bartolotta. I'm new to the community, 65 years. My question to you, none of you said, what's the reason for pulling it tonight? I've heard all these excellent statements from residents, chiefs. What's the reason for pulling it? Was it because you were notified by the prosecutor's office that you were going down a bad road, right? I too have a little info. You were going down a bad road and they weren't going to honor. You were looking to give a civilian employee police powers almost without the term of police chief, right? That's not right, all right? There's competent people to run this department. Once again, you guys are doing what you want to do, right, without thinking it through. And it's sad. We went through the Naga situation, whatever. We're still on the police department 4 years later. You brought in a guy. Where is Director Peoples tonight? How come he wasn't ordered to be here to answer these questions? Right? Again, wrong Hill Township.
So I like numbers, and the gentleman in the back, I just wanted to answer one thing. If I remember correctly, you said you work in a town, and I won't ask you the name of the town, that has 30,000 people?
Yes.
How many officers?
77.
77.
In fact, I should have, if it may continue.
Yeah, I like numbers.
Just real quick. It's my understanding the state police publishes an index every year. They take your violent and nonviolent crime and they put it through a calculation.
I
They put it
hear
over
you.
your population. And we're always indexes 2.2.
I didn't ask you the name, but that's
I'm sorry.
volunteered.
Well, 2.3, 2.4. I'm proud of it. 2.3, 2.4 officers per 1,000 people. And that brings us to 72. So we're at 77 based
You
on
knew where I was going.
Based on our committee, our community. 34 officers divided by 87 is 3.9 officers
I got to
per
correct you there.
1,000.
I
I'm
got to
sorry?
correct you there. And the lieutenants would correct you as well. We have 23. We haven't had 34, and I've been in town for 30 years.
Okay.
So I don't know where that number
that's
comes
good to know,
from.
but I was told 34 recently, so.
23.
All right, very good. Good to know.
Anyway,
That's good to know.
I just
That's
wanted
important.
to make sure
I appreciate that. That's good.
And there's some things we can't respond to, but that I
No,
that
like
can
I said
respond
in
to.
the beginning,
And I hear you.
If
There's
my
different-
inference was wrong, I stand corrected. Be more than
There are different crime statistics, so I'm not pretending I know what's the proper.
But otherwise, a very well-researched presentation. We appreciate it.
I appreciate that. It was, like I said,
I drive Randy nuts when with numbers. I always play with them in my head.
Sure. So you're roughly 2.7 officers per 1,000. But again, in a community where, the crime statistics are favorable, thank God.
In part because
and I'm sure that's true. I'm
Our
sure that's
police
part of it.
department does an outstanding job, and I want to publicly thank them. And for the chiefs that are here this evening, or whatever your titles are, first off, thank you for being here. I especially appreciate Chief Russo for the things you said and the offer you made. And perhaps I can reach out to you and we can set up a meeting. But to show you what this community thinks about its police department, on your way home, I invite you to drive up Main Avenue. We put our blue line back in a few months back, and I don't know, and there may be many other towns, I don't know. I don't know any other town, but our blue line is there, and we are very proud of our police department. And I thank you publicly for the job you guys and gals do. Thank you. If no one else here, can we go online?
Marianne Noonan has her hand raised.
Please state your address. Sorry, Marianne. I'm just
That's
being a
okay.
nudge this evening.
Mary Ann Noonan, 110 Lackawanna Boulevard, Gillette, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank Megan for putting all this work in terms of the park mobile. This is minor compared to the conversations held tonight. But I just want to, it's a forward-looking statement and a thought process. With the fact that we will be assuming quite a few more residents coming down Valley Road, specifically Hillcrest, well, actually, through every one of our main roads. Just a thought process with Park Mobile or a standalone. I see the Gillette station slowly filling up again. And I'd just like to make note if someone could start thinking about putting Long Hill Township residents as first come, first served going forward for parking permits. Now, again, that this would be dependent once these buildings go up. But in essence, I lived in Chatham, and you know, you had the township versus the borough. And all of a sudden, I no longer could get a parking permit because I lived in the township. Fortunately, my job, I had to be in, you know, downtown Manhattan at 8 in the morning, but there would be 6 cars rushing to get that last spot. So if we could put a little thought process, chances are with the amounts of units being built in proximity, our train stations are not going to be able to handle it. So again, just a forward-looking type of thought process. And then I have a very generalized question. Just after listening to the whole content of this meeting, what will be the next step going forward regarding, will there be another ordinance put out? When would that be? Would it be, you know, the next meeting? And thank you for changing it from 9/11. But when can we expect some type of answer?
Sorry. So, well, I'll revert back to what I said. The goal all along has been to have a police chief in place. It's taken a little bit longer than I think we anticipated, for reasons that council has alluded to. We can't really go into too many details, but our goal has been, is, and remains 100% to have a police chief in place. And Chief Russo, that's why I said maybe I'll reach out to you. You know, as well-intentioned as we are, I don't have the capability or the ability. Somebody once pointed out to me, in all my vast Wall Street success, whatever gave you the impression you understood what qualities and characteristics went into, you know, running a police department? And the answer is none, to be honest. I recognize leadership, and I've been in roles, and I've appointed people to roles. But I think this is a unique leadership position. And so, again, I really appreciate the offer you made, and I intend to accept that offer.
And just as a note also, Chief Russo, I just want to make mention that they did mention that in terms of the salaries you quoted, one of the parties has resigned. So, you know, there's a reduction in those numbers.
I'm sorry, Mary Ann, say that again?
You mentioned that somebody resigned, there's a reduction in the numbers.
Well, correct. Deputy Director Sean Brown resigned. Well, to be
Right.
fair, he accepted a position elsewhere. I honestly don't know. That's a personal decision on his part. And again, I thank Sean for the work he did when he was here. He did
Yes.
tremendous work.
I just wanted to clarify for Chief Russo's purposes. You know, he had quoted, you know, I'm a statistical person. You know that also. I just wanted to, you know, qualify and quantify that, you know, in terms of the salaries. Okay, so basically, me coming from the outside, it seems like there's a lot of diligence that seems to need to be done still. So is there any type of time frame, you know, where things will progress, or basically just an outline of the steps that we'll be taking?
I'm sorry. So is the question, I had to ask Randy, and for those in the audience, is the question, is there any time frame for the position of police chief being filled?
Correct.
No, not at this time.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann.
Yes, and thank you.
Thank you, Marianne.
Can we hold off on at home, because I see somebody coming to the mic? We know you, but please state your name.
Fair enough. Craig Tuma, 1012 Valley Road, Gillette, New Jersey, 90 Summit Avenue, Gillette as well. My question is I just heard today, actually, that Sean has stepped down and accepted a different position. Is it the committee's position to fill that before we move forward in moving to police chief as
I don't want to speak for the rest,
Mayor
but I think I
Patricia?
can. The answer is no.
Okay. So that $135 goes back, or $135,000 will go back into the pool and
Right. And so,
redesignated?
Sean worked for what, 5 months? I honestly don't know the exact number of days that he worked or something like that, but I think we had.
So your intention is not to fill that position currently until we figure out what's going on with the
We
chief of
probably
police?
won't fill it.
Not to refill it.
Not to
at all.
Okay.
Is my understanding.
Okay.
And I would agree with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Nobody, I don't see anybody. Back to online.
Donna F. has her hand raised.
Thank you. If you wouldn't mind, please state your name and address.
Yes, it's Donna Fucci, lifelong resident of Sterling. Just got a few key things to just mention. I mean, I agree with everything I've been hearing so far from the chiefs and a lot of the residents. It just puzzled me, basically, why we would even consider at some point not having a chief within, I would say, the next couple of years, because we're going to need one sooner than later. We've had so many, I've never known a time in all the time I've lived here that we did not have a chief. And many of the chiefs that we had were well-liked, well-respected, and well-known through the community. And I think that's an important part of having a chief. And the officers in place that we have now, especially, our lieutenants, our sergeants, these people have worked their way up through the years. They've gotten to know this town. And they should have an opportunity to aspire to be chief if they choose to do so. And if it does take a mentoring program, I think that's a wonderful idea. Because as Deputy Mayor Lavender, I think, mentioned earlier, we were talking about a different subject, but we're talking about being surrounded by affordable housing. I've noticed over, I'd say this past year in general, I'm finding more people coming around, I'm going to say fake solicitors, because they would come to your door 6 o'clock at night, asking you if you needed roofing or rodent control. You'd never see a truck, you'd never see a paper, you'd never see anything. I know at one occasion, your officers came out because one of the residents did call. And when the officer told them that you don't have a permit, you can't stay, it happened to be in front of my house. And I was watching as a sedan pulled up and picked up this guy and took off. This was no company. Trust me when I tell you this was no company involved. And I think that with affordable housing coming in, there will be more people coming into this town. There will be more crime. And I think that having a police chief is a deterrent. I don't know if you've thought about that or not, but I do believe it would be a deterrent for having people come in. Because this has only happened with, like I said, within the last year or so. And now we've been without a chief for 2 years. And I know you said, Mayor Pasercia, that we're going to get another police chief as we deem as the appropriate time. But I don't think we can make too many more years before we do this. I don't think it's good for the town. I don't think it's good for the department, because I think that as it is now, I think they are a well-oiled unit. I don't see, as from my standpoint, where there's, I don't know the problems if there are any within the department, but I don't see it. I mean, they're right on point. Every time there's an issue, I have an older mother, I've had them come out. I mean, these people have always been right on the ball. And I know these people love this town. That's why they're in this town. And what would possibly, I know it's getting wordy, but what would possibly be the incentive for anybody in the future to either join our department or come in from maybe another town and join our department when you don't have the ability to move up to, a position that's highly respected, quite frankly. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. And I'm just hoping you take all that into consideration as you make your decisions going forward.
Thank you, Donna.
Donna, thank you. I appreciate it. And I think I could say I agree with essentially everything you said. So, anybody else at home?
Marianne Noonan has her hand raised again.
Marianne, I'm going to ask you to be brief because we have people in this audience and on the committee who would like to go home, I think.
Sorry, it was a mistake.
What happened?
Bye.
False flag. Well, then I'm going to say good evening, Marianne. Anybody else at home?
If anybody else on Zoom would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. I don't see anyone, Mayor.
I want to thank the members of law enforcement community. What you guys have gone through, and gals, over the last number of years, I find personally offensive. And we have stated, and I specifically have stated at meetings, what's gone on throughout this country is inexcusable. And you guys and gals have offered to help us. Anything we can do in return, as much as we can. That's why the blue line doesn't really do much, but it shows you, I think, how we feel about you. So thank you. And thank you for being here this evening. I know you're here with the absolute right intentions, and I can assure you that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to get to the same place. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone, for coming here. Thank you for your comments, your advice, and your criticism. Nothing said here tonight will be taken lightly, and we are grateful for your attendance. Thank you. Everybody, thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good evening, everyone.